IndyGo, and I'm calling our meeting of June 23rd.
We are ready for you, sir.
Okay. My name is Greg Hahn, Chairman of the Board of IndyGo, and I'm calling our meeting of June 23rd, 2022 to order. Good evening, IndyGo Board of Directors. And Jill, would you please take the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Please indicate your attendance. Director Pace.
Present.
Director Gardner.
Present.
Director Wilson.
Present.
Director Fagan.
Present.
Director Abdullah.
Present.
Thank you, sir. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Next is item number 2, awards and accommodations. And our President and CEO, Inez Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. We have a lot of recognitions today, so it's just a great day. So we're going to first cover our safe drivers for May of 2022. All of that information is contained within your folder. We'd like to give recognition to 5 years of safe driving to Trevor Anderson. She's been with us for 5 years, and so her entire career thus far, yay, has been accident-free. For the May Operations Employee of the Month, we have Zara Hughes, she's coach operator for Fixed Route. And then we have Happy and Sad. We have a few retirements. We have Larry Patterson, coach operator for Fixed Route, 22 years of service. And then we have James Green, mechanic in our body shop area. And so all those great seats that our mechanics, he does all of those great seats that our operators are able to sit on. He's been our master upholsterer for a number of years, so 38 years. I think we're gonna have Jill introduce 2 new folks to our team here.
From here.
Yeah.
Board of Directors, I'd like you to be introduced to our new DBE Liaison Officer, Mr. Gregory Garrett, as well as our specialist, Ms. Courtney Palmer. Greg, would you like to say just a few words about your background?
Hello, my name is Greg Garrett, and I see some familiar faces in here. My background has come from the city of Indianapolis in the mayor's office, and I worked in the communities and on different boards and committees over the years, and I'm very happy to be here and to work with all of you, and I'm super excited to get things going with supplier diversity.
Courtney?
Would you like to stick Courtney? Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Jill, for the introduction.
My name is Courtney. I just graduated from IUPUI. I went to the Kelly School of Business. Before that, while I was in the Kelly School, I worked for Wolford, where I was a... Yeah, that's actually, she told me about this job. I was a supplier diversity intern over there and came directly here, and I'm super excited to be part of this team. Thank you.
Awesome. Yes, Courtney interviewed me. Nick, the owner or the rep for this area, set up an interview with Courtney and myself, and at the end of it I said, you know, we have some openings in our DBE program, and she applied, and we're so blessed to have both of them as part of our team. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you.
Now we have another fun part. I want to go over our 2021 Excellence Awards. We're a little behind schedule, but nevertheless, we want to make sure that we recognize our employees. The Excellence Awards are a set of awards IndyGo grants to various team members of the agency who demonstrate exceptional behavior and go above and beyond meeting general expectations. We are awarding the following awards to the following team members. Leadership in Operations Award. The Leadership in Operation Award honors current IndyGo teammates in the Operations Department who exhibit qualities of becoming a leader. Our winners are our Senior Director of Facilities and Maintenance, Paul Williams. Our Senior Director of Mobility Solutions, Mike Roth. Our Director of Mobility Solutions, Chauncey Coleman. General Laborer, Tyrone Rowan. Manager of Service Scheduling, Thomas Kuhn. And we have one more, but they're not here. Training Supervisor, Kanisha Barrett. Let's get them out here.
Yeah.
Yes.
You guys right here in front of the step and repeat real quick.
Chairman Lon, you want to step around?
Chairman, would you please join? Maybe Vice Chair as well?
Vice Chair.
Vice Chair. Since it is about service.
No.
Side, please. Thank you so much.
All righty. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Now we're gonna do one more. 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you guys, excellent.
I know, right?
Don't go far, don't go far. Bosses.
Don't go far.
Bosses, don't go far. We got a couple more. I need you. For Leadership in Administration Award. The Leadership in Administration Awards are meant to honor current IndyGo teammates in administrative positions who exhibit qualities of becoming a leader. And the winners this year are the Transit Apprenticeship and Mentorship Coordinator, Sarah Dufek. Support Technician 2, Shaker Mo. Shaker, how do I say your last name? Okay, what he said. And Director of Strategic Planning, Brooke Thomas. Directors.
Yeah, right there in the middle. Yes, please. All right, right here in 1, 2, 3, and one more. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Our last category is our Coach Operator of the Year, which recognizes coach operators who exhibit extraordinary qualities. We had 3 individuals selected this year. 2 unfortunately are not here with us, which is Coach Operator Laura Beck and Coach Operator Samuel Abebe. But tonight we do have with us Coach Operator William Hazen. Who is also the Rose Award winner this year as well. So does it shock us? Directors, please. Pictures.
And 3, 2, 1. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm now going to turn over this portion of the recognitions to our Executive Director of our foundation, Emily Levinson.
Good evening. I'm here to present the winner for the Partnership Award. The foundation is pleased to sponsor this award to honor a person, group, or organization that has supported IndyGo making progress in attaining agency goals. The winners of this award show extraordinary efforts to uplift the agency in relation to policy, teammate or program support, community service, funding impacting the city of Indianapolis, and overall commitment to IndyGo's efforts. I am pleased to name AARP of Indiana the 2021 winner for the Annual Partnership Award due to their tireless advocacy and support of the foundation and IndyGo.
Foundation Foundation board members? Foundation board members?
So great.
I get to stand up pretty girls.
Director Hunt.
No, it's up to you.
All right. Y'all can look right here. And 3, 2, 1. Let's do one more. And 3, 2, 1. All right, thank you.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Emily, good job.
Thank you for your continued partnership. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's good to see you.
Thank you again.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, that concludes all of our awards, accommodations, and recognitions for this evening.
Thank you, Inez. By the way, I do want to recognize that we have a new clock.
Yes, we do. Fancy.
What do we get, one every 20 years?
Maybe I'll trim it down to 19.5 years.
Okay. Thank you very much. Next, we're going to move to committee reports. And the first one will be from Director Richard Wilson, Chairman of the Finance Committee. Sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate the opportunity. The Finance Committee met on June 16th, 2022 at 8:30 a.m. In attendance was myself, Rick Wilson, Chairman of the Finance Committee, as well as my colleague, Committee Member Mary Ann Fagan. We reviewed and recommended board approval for the following items on tonight's consent agenda. Consent agenda items A1 and A2. One item from the committee meeting I would like to highlight is action item A2, approval of an RFP for website and maintenance support services. Vice President of Communications and Marketing, Leslie Gordon, presented this action item to the Finance Committee. As I understand from her presentation, IPTC here and after the corporation underwent a complete website overhaul leading up to the opening of the Red Line and expansion of service outlined in the Marion County Transit Plan. The corporation's public-facing website is essential for customer service, trip planning, communication, and outreach about projects and programs. Cross-departmental processes and service delivery. As we continue to expand and innovate our service, our website needs to be a viable tool and resource for our riders and staff to easily access information and maintain ADA compliance. Corporation solicitation of this RFP was released April 6th, 2022 and resulted in 6 proposals. Of those 6, 3 were found responsible and responsive. The evaluation committee conducted interviews with the top 2 proposals, and Red Elephant Digital Media scored the highest. Matchbook Creative Services Incorporated, a certified WBE, was proposed to meet the 8% XBE requirements for the bid as a subcontractor for the contract. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Thank you very much, and we will receive your report. And let's see, next we have the Service Committee report, and that's from Co-Chair Darius Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Service Committee met on June 16th at 10 a.m. In attendance was myself, Darius Gardner, Chairman of the Service Committee, as well as Committee Member Hydre Abdullah. We reviewed and recommended board approval for the following items on tonight's agenda: consent agenda items A1 and A3, and regular agenda item A4. An item from the committee meeting I would like to highlight is action item A3, approval of IPTC's Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan, PTASP for short, yearly revisions for 2022. Director of Risk and Safety, Brian Klim, presented this action item to the Service Committee. Congress requires operators of public transportation systems that receive FTA funds to develop and implement a public transportation agency safety plan under US 49 USC 5329D, Final Rule 49 CFR Part 673. The transit agency is to self-certify and submit their plan to the State Safety Oversight, SSO, the U.S. Department of Transportation, and the Metropolitan Planning Organization, MPO, in lieu of a state agency oversight in Indiana. This plan must be approved by the Board of Directors, CEO, or highest accountable executive annually. Failure to comply with this requirement subjects a recipient to a range of FTA enforcement options depending upon the circumstances, including but not limited to actions authorized by 49 USC 5329G and CFR 200.339-340. Penalties may include the recipient being ineligible to receive FTA grant funds until the recipient satisfies requirements, or FTA imposing more frequent reporting requirements until the recipient achieves compliance, which we do not want to happen.
Correct.
And Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Thank you. And the report is received. Next, we go to item 4, the consent agenda, and which are items A1, A2, and A3. Are there any items on the agenda that a board member would like to add or remove to the consent agenda?
No.
Okay.
Move the consent agenda, Mr. Chairman.
Right, thank you. Any second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, thank you. Next, we go to the regular agenda, and that's item number 5, which is item A4, consideration and approval of RFP 20-05-358, on-call planning services. COA Phase 3 task order presented by Director of Strategic Planning, Brooke Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hello, directors. Do I get an award for longest title of the action?
I think Jenny beat you.
Okay. It's really nice to be here with you all tonight. I'm here on behalf of our entire project team to ask you all to authorize President and CEO Inez Evans to execute a task order agreement, our next task order agreement, with our on-call service planning consultant, Nelson Nygaard. This would be a not to exceed, like past task orders, of $250,000. Again, if there isn't $250,000 worth of work, right, then we pay less than $250,000. By way of a brief background, it is customary for transit agencies like ours to do a deep dive, what we call a comprehensive operational analysis of how the network is performing as a whole on like a route-by-route basis. The last time we did one was in 2016, and that gave us what we referred to as the network redesign. So it was time to do another COA, perfect timing, I think, and we're working on kind of improving upon that network redesign. You know that we've been packaging and sequencing and repackaging and reanalyzing all kinds of things over the last 18 months. This task order would pick up where task order 2, this work we're currently doing, leaves off. At the end of the work that we're already doing, we'll have an implementation plan and a revised future service plan. This task order, if it's approved, it would support the implementation and the maintenance of that plan. Examples of what it would mean to maintain our plan. We know that we have this task of figuring out which vehicle propulsion technology to use for the Blue Line. We know it's not uncommon for our partners, our external partners, to come to us and ask us to do some scenario planning, like last year around like the Blue Line, beginning of this year around the Blue Line. Oh my gosh. And then it's just some more scenario planning to keep that capacity. We don't have the staff capacity to move forward and implement this plan and maintain it on our own. I think we would lose a lot of momentum. It makes this follow-on task really, really important. The costs for these services are approved as part of Department 46's operating budget for this year. And anything that we aren't able to use this year would carry over into next year. We are required to have XBE participation. We already do as part of Task Order 2. We've established a goal for this task order, and we'll work towards it as well. And with that, I will entertain any questions.
Any questions from the board?
No.
Just one question for me. Brooke, I just want to make sure I'm clear. What's the deliverable
Yeah.
that comes?
Oh my gosh, so many things. I'm glad you asked. So we already have a highly dynamic model that they have built for us that allows us to do scenario planning pretty quickly. Things change by the hour, right? So we have that. We will have a phased implementation plan. We will have a better idea of facility needs as it relates to the future service plan. We will have Title VI analyses completed, both preliminary and a formal one that gets adopted as part of our Title VI program. And then just staff capacity, right?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So the end product is a recommendation, or
Yes, you will adopt a new future service plan.
then they also will make sure it will be implemented?
They're gonna help us implement it, yep,
Okay.
And then they maintain it.
and they'll help us maintain it.
So in mass transit, can you give me an example of scenario planning?
Yeah, the one, you might recall that the legislators asked us to do, which was, we had, designed it for center running dedicated, what happens if you do these other configurations, what does that do to the operations? So we're kind of the operations, this planning effort is the operations side of some of those construction decisions even.
But can you go into a little bit more on how maybe it looks at a 60-foot bus versus a 40-foot bus versus
yes.
microtransit?
Yeah, it is how we will figure out how to right-size the service to meet the need of a particular area. It'll tell us, it'll take a whole bunch of inputs and say, you know what, we've been serving this area with a 40-foot bus, but we think we can deliver better service in a smaller vehicle. It's another way to right-size. It'll help us restructure how fixed route operates in a given area to better connect destinations where people are going and give them better service, better crosstown travel, that kind of stuff.
I'm fairly certain I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask the question anyway. This would be on an existing line. So
Our existing network, it would change our existing network, yeah.
Potential.
but the review is of the
Yes,
existing.
yes.
And that would be red line and
The whole thing, how it
System.
all works together, yep.
So the review is based on the existing route, and they give a better recommendation, or they try to say you have to fix this, fix that, something like that?
Yeah, sometimes it's working just fine, don't touch it,
Now that's fine.
on a route by route basis.
So they will give a recommendation like where to put a bus station, how to handle the handicap.
Yeah,
the wheelchair.
another good example, we've never had to operate out of 2 facilities before. We will, right? And so they have the ability to help us figure that out, in addition to just all the knowledge that our leadership has.
I'm good.
Okay.
me too.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Is there a motion and a second to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes. Thank you very much, Gordon. Good job. Next, item 6, and these are information items. These are items I-1 and I-2. First is I-1 is Mobility Advisory Committee, the MAC. Update presented by MAC member Eddie Rickenbach.
The Mobility Advisory Committee actually met on May the 19th of 2022 virtually. There were 6 Mobility Advisory Committee members present, 6 from IndyGo, 1 from RATP-Dev, and then we had the 3 visitors. And major topics of discussion was Director of Risk and Safety Brian Klemp, with great enthusiasm, presented out the UVC disinfectant installs on almost 70 units, which was received well from MAC. We did question whether or not that there was going to be ongoing communication of the great work that was being done in this area, which there are potentially ads being discussed, whether that's radio ads or decals. Chauncia Coleman then presented to the tune of a decreased call volume, which decrease would be good in this world, 18,000 in March now to 15,000 in April. The challenge from the Mobility Advisory Committee on this would be that we could have the communication beforehand, that there have been improvements, as we vice versa represent the voice of the communities, but also represent a good stewardship of IndyGo and their reputation back to the community, and would like to kind of spread the word of the good news that the difficulties that we've seen in the past are alleviating when those complaints are being brought to us. Ryan then went on to speak of the Beyond the ADA, with a reminder that will take place on January 1st of 2023. As we approach 2023, the Mobility Advisory Committee believes that this will be where the loudest voice of the city that we serve will begin to chime in, both on the positive with the reduction of potential services that are now being paid service to allow greater on-time efficiency, capacity, but also to be ready and be able to be a conduit for the other feedback that could be coming, and to be able to make recommendations of change based off of what we are seeing. We do understand communication is going out. Teams are reaching out to give our updates, and the Mobility Advisory Committee at this time is very satisfied with the efforts that IndyGo is making on the Beyond the ADA. Teresa Franklin also described her self-service app. One of the members of the Mobility Advisory Committee volunteered their company, Goodwill, to kind of set up and reach out with Teresa to figure out whether that app can also be a conduit for employers to understand the ETAs of employees and what difficulties they're facing, rather than immediately looking at disciplinary action for attendants, to be more considerate in that realm, using the app as an employer. And finally, Angela Milroy from RATP-Dev gave an update with staffing, drivers, and the drivers' continued commitment and willingness to work overtime. Overall, going forward, the Mobility Advisory Committee looks to remain committed to their dual stewardship of the city of Indianapolis, and also the reputation and the good work that IndyGo is doing for the community. And that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Eddie. Are there any questions?
No,
No.
Okay, well, we accept your report. Thank you very much.
thank you.
And then next we have the finance report for May 2022, presented by our Vice President of Finance, CFO, Mr. Bart Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening, board members. Bart Brown, CFO. This is the May 2022 financial summary. Under revenue, I've got some good news on the passenger service revenue. The gap between under collections and budget is starting to shrink. And as I reported at the finance, in January, we were under budget by 28%. February, we were under budget by 26% of collections. March, we were under budget at 13%. April, we were under budget 7%. And then this last month in May, we were under budget by only 4%. So we're seeing passenger revenue going in the right direction for the first time in a while. Under PMTF, our Public Mass Transit Fund grant, we put in our first claim for the year that was submitted this month, and we hope to get payment in the next 30 days. Again, that's about $11 million for the entire year. And also, I reported last week, but we did post the additional transit income tax that we were not expecting of $4.3 million. For all revenue, we were over budget by 3.3, and for the month, $4 million over budget in revenue. For expenditures, personnel services, fringe benefits continues to be under budget. For the month, $266,000. For the year, $1.4 million. Most of that was health insurance claims However, we learned today that our last month's health insurance claims are a little bit higher, so we might see that start to shrink as far as under budget. Overtime expenses continue to trend higher as we do experience some labor shortages. Expenses were over budget by $145,000, and for the year it was we're over budget by $655,000. Salary expenditures are under budget by $729,000 for the month, $3.1 million for the year. All personnel services category is under budget, $850,000 for the month, and $3.9 million for year to date. Under services and charges, the purchase transportation category was under budget by $126,000, and year to date $553,000. Just under the first month of May, the services expense category was under budget by $852,000, and year to date $3.1 million. Utilities were under budget for the month, $26,000, and for the year, $152,000. Overall, other services and charges was under budget by $1.2 million for the month of May and $4.3 year to date. Materials and supplies, fuel and lubricant category was under budget, $106,000 for the month and $805,000 year to date. For maintenance materials, under budget $42,000. Year to date was $325,000. Other materials and supplies under budget by $72,000 in May, and $326,000 year to date. For the month, all materials and supplies category was under budget $285,000, and year to date under budget $1.4 million. Overall, all expenditures came under budget $2.3 million for the month and $9.6 year to date. Moving on to our non-budgeted requests. Yes.
Sorry.
Oh, sure.
Just a question, or probably more of a thought to understand how you might be thinking, but on the fuel cost, I mean, I think we're all kind of hearing what's happening. Are there any strategies or things that we're thinking about in response to that at this point?
Yeah, so we have talked to our vendors. Every year we go out to bid, and we usually get 2 bids because of the type of fuel, diesel fuel. So we have been advised to budget around $3.50 for next year. We're up to, I think, $2.25 this year. So we're putting that in the budget. This was, when they advised this, I think oil's about 130 a barrel. I think it's gone down a little bit since then. So we think we'll be okay. We also are going to come to you at the end of the year and ask you to take underspending this year for fuel and prepay like we always do. So that should give us a cushion of $1 to $2 million just in case that $3.56. Unleaded, we have doubled our unleaded budget.
I'm sorry, one more time?
We're going to double our unleaded fuel budget for next year. And we'll give you some more of that next month when we present the budget, but that's the strategy so far. Yes, sir. For that.
Hey, Barney, I'm just curious, have we done a review of if all those electric buses we bought were fuel, what the difference would be?
We haven't done what the difference would be, but we definitely can show you our usage. Fuel continues to go down, and since we had hybrid, the monthly usage is going down for 2 reasons. One is because of some of the service adjustments, but the other is because of the electric and because of the hybrid. We're not using fuel, and it's significant.
But I think we could extrapolate the mileage that the electric buses are putting on the red line and be able to quantify based on a mile per gallon what that cost could have been from a fuel perspective, and then look at the difference between what our electric bill has been before and after. So we can, you know, it's full back end napkin kind of thing, but we can get there.
Absolutely.
Just curious. Go ahead, Don.
So the new request on budget, the first one, wireless vehicle communications replacement at $462,000. This is technically not budgeted because it's in the 5-year plan. It was in 2023. We decided to move it up because the contract does end at the end of the year, and we wanted to get something signed before the end of the year. Therefore, we're asking you to move this particular capital project up 1 year. and we can fund this through savings in our capital budget. So the good news is it won't be in 2023's budget, since we'll do it this year. Temp staffing extension, that's just to help us with some admin staff up in the front office. Again, we can absorb that through the savings in the personnel cost. Zero emission transition plan. After we passed the budget last year, we learned that in order to apply for any bus federal money, no emission, that we had to have a plan. So we'd like to get this in this year, have this plan, so we can go after federal money for the future bus purchases. And then on-call grant writing is just to help us with those type of plans or grants that do occur that we want to take advantage of. We just don't have the capacity or the writers on staff to do that. Again, all of these will be funded through budget savings in other areas.
Hey Bart?
Yes, sir.
Can I ask one quick question? We've got on line 2, we've got a temporary staffing extension for $37,000 and change. And then down on line 5, we've got an extension of temporary staffing contracting procurement for $37,000 and change. Are those one and the same, or are they two separate?
They're two separate, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're just the same. We got basically the same price for those two folks.
Okay, thank you.
And I think that if I can add, just the temporary staffing strategy helps us understand, are we just having a capacity issue right now because of projects that we have going on, or is this a long-term? And so it just helps us to understand so we can see, are we adding permanent positions to our budget, or do we just need help for right now? And so we like this strategy so we can articulate to the board that, we've done it, we can show that we need this from a permanent perspective, and we just think it's a stronger strategy to bring forward.
Okay. I was just curious because the amounts were exactly the same.
Yeah.
I also want to just say that I was pleasantly excited to see the Pride Parade line item, and I know that we had team members that were representative down at the Pride Parade, so kudos to the team members that participated.
I participated, and it was a really fun day.
Yes, Director Fagan was there.
Yeah, that wrap will stay on until it falls off, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or we get complaints.
it was fun, it was good.
So it's going to be on longer than a month?
Yes.
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 Oh, okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
That wrap should last us 3 to 5 years.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Ready for next year.
That's great. Finally, the capital project spending, just want to update you, not a lot of change, but of the budget that was approved last year of $111 million, we still have $67 million left to appropriate. And again, any of the underspending for those capital projects we'll take in consideration for any future non-budget requests. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report. Happy to answer any more questions the board may have.
Any other questions board members have?
No.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
So that is the end of our agenda, and I want to thank all of our executive staff, board members, Charlie.
The unsung hero.
I call him the Wizard of Oz.
You should get an award.
Well, he's the behind-the-scenes guy, but just on behalf of myself and everyone, I know everybody's putting in a ton of extra work on many, many fronts, and I'm sure our writers and our community appreciate all the effort. So with that, thank you all, and the Indianapolis Public Transportation Corporation meeting for June 23rd, 2022 is adjourned.